So to kick off the seminar today, the Lord Mayor of the City of London, Alderman Professor Michael Manelli, will deliver the opening remarks and keynote speech. Please do join us on the stage.
Well, welcome, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, konnichiwa. I am absolutely thrilled to be here addressing you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Professor Michael Manelli. I'm the 695th Lord Mayor of London, and it's a delight to be greeted by the lady in red. I think we have a Krista Berg song here or something. I am the civic head of the City of London Corporation, the world's oldest democratic workers and residents cooperative, nearly 1,400 years old, and we are the square miles governing body. And on behalf of the City Corporation and the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to Stationers' Hall for what is, in fact, the 8th Tokyo London Financial Seminar. I'd like to thank you particularly to the Ambassador of Japan to the UK, His Excellency Hajime Hayashi, for joining us, and to the Embassy of Japan in the UK and the Japan Financial Services Agency for the immense support they've given to these events over the years. I continue on thanks to Jack Knight, Deputy CEO of the Investment Association, who's here today, and our esteemed panelists who will be making many contributions, and to my colleague, Alderman King, who will be making the closing remarks. While we would all love to have that wonderful governor of Tokyo, Yuriko Koike, here, she cannot be with us in person, but fortunately, we're going to hear her video message in a few moments. And I'd like to thank all of those who are joining us in person from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. I must say, of all the memoranda of understanding that we have around the world, possibly the most treasured one is the one that we have with Tokyo. And the reason for that is, frankly, the amount of effort both sides put into it. Far too often, it's signed, it's dusted, you walk away. What really matters is the contributions that you make as it continues. And this has been one of the best partnerships we, the City of London, have ever had. Now, as Lord Mayor, I act as the International Ambassador for the thriving financial and professional services sector in London and across the entire UK. I'll be spending around a third of my term on official visits, promoting all the city has to offer our friends and partners across the world. I'll be visiting about 25 countries over 100 days, but Japan is one of the most important destinations on the schedule. And it's also very important to me personally. My parents lived in Tokyo for a number of years. My sister is fluent in Japanese. My son is extremely fluent in Japanese because he left the UK some dozen years ago and has been living in Japan, where he has a lovely wife, my daughter-in-law, and I'm blessed to have 2 grandsons. And in fact, my son is currently taking Japanese citizenship. So I will have a Japanese member very closely in my family very soon. But the truth is, at a business level, the relationship between the UK and Japan, between Tokyo and London, is important to everyone here, or you wouldn't be here, but to everyone in the city, even if they don't know it. My theme as Lord Mayor is Connect to Prosper. I want to celebrate the many knowledge miles that run through the square mile. This square mile of ours is very much the world's coffee house. And what our knowledge miles do as they connect around the world is they help to provide solutions to global problems, such as the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If that all sounds too theoretical, let me give you an example I used in my very first speech as Lord Mayor in November. We need to invest in space observation and positioning. Of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, 40% cannot be met without space. We need space for defense. You get a bit trigger happy if you don't know what the neighbors are up to. You need to solve the Sustainable Development Goals. And frankly, there's no point in investing assets, billions of assets, into outer space if they're going to get shredded by all the junk that's out there. We have 1 million pieces of junk. And mankind currently has about 7,000 working satellites, with another 2,000 being added now every single year. And I was connected by a Japanese bank, Mitsuho, to a junk removal company called Astroscale, who chose the UK for their control center from which its first commercial mission was launched. because it recognized that here and in Japan, we share an enabling regulatory environment, access to incredible talent and skills, and unparalleled global ties. And that is just one example of collaboration between our two nations and one example of connecting to prosper. Now, these seminars are important to establish how our sectors can work together even more closely. We are definitely each other's most important partners in Europe and Asia, respectively. Japan was the first country we signed an FTA with when we left the EU. The new Global Strategic Partnership, the Hiroshima Accord, agreed by our prime ministers last year, will only deepen that relationship. Japan is the UK's 12th largest trading partner in services, and in 2021, investment from Japan accounted for nearly 5% of the UK's inward FDI stock. More than 1,000 Japanese companies have chosen to set up shop in the UK, where they have easy access to the array of financial services and other services, a gateway from here to the rest of Europe. And as mentioned, the relationship between our capitals was bolstered in 2017 by the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of London Corporation and Tokyo's Metropolitan Government. And this sets out our ambitions to enhance both of our positions as hubs in finance, science, technology, and other areas. And one area where we can definitely improve our interconnectedness is in asset management. Many large Japanese firms, like Sumitomo and Nomura, invest in UK asset managers, and it's clear why. Accounting for 15% of global assets under management, despite having less than 1% of the global population, the UK is a world leader in this sector. In many ways, one of our great hidden strengths, and one that allows us to work with other nations, because we give asset managers and owners access to a large market, world-class talent, and the services they need to make it work. Now, Prime Minister Kishida has set out an aim to spur competition in Japan's asset management industry by prompting new market entrants to turn dormant household savings into investments, and the US is keen to support that ambition. And here, in last year's Mansion House Compact, we too are striving to unlock the potential of assets that could be better deployed in perhaps slightly riskier areas, but hopefully for much greater returns for savers. My predecessors and I have been championing the UK's asset management sector through our Global Investment Futures campaign. And some examples of effect are UK asset manager Impacts opened its Tokyo office last spring, and LGI is now the 7th largest asset manager in Japan. So these connections are really prospering. Now, green finance and fintech will come up today, and these are other fields where we're working together, and I hope we can use today's seminar to chart a path for future collaboration between our cities and nations in those areas. Just to finish, I'd like to share a haiku by a great poet of the Edo period, Yosabu-son. Now, don't worry, it's in English. I wish I could do Japanese properly, such a beautiful language. Yosa says, "The light of a candle is transferred to another candle. Spring, twilight." This idea that one candle can give flame to another without being diminished serves as a symbol of the precious symbiotic relationship between Tokyo and London. It puts me in mind of another quote by Thomas Jefferson, which I'm afraid is a bit more English and prosaic, but also conveys the same idea. Jefferson said, "He who receives an idea from me receives instruction himself without lessening mine, as he who lights his taper at mine receives light without darkening me." And I am confident that as one candle or taper helps light another without losing any of its brilliance, today we will share many ideas and provide much light, because when we connect, we do prosper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alderman Professor Michael Manelli. Next, we have a video message by Ms. Koike Yuriko, Governor of Tokyo. She will deliver her greeting in her role as the conference organizer. Please enjoy the video message.
Hello everyone, I'm Koike Yuriko, Governor of Tokyo. Thank you for participating today. Lord Mayor Manelli, it is an honor to co-host this seminar with all of you again this year. Finance and innovation are key to overcoming the climate crisis, energy crisis, and other challenges confronting us, as well as achieving sustainable growth. In Japan, the national government has set forth the goal of becoming a leading asset management center and is launching various initiatives under this policy. In line with national government measures, the Tokyo Metropolitan government will press ahead to build an environment that attracts investment from both within and outside Japan. We will newly launch support to cultivate talent in order to secure more asset managers and boost initiatives to remove language barriers. We will also establish a public-private partnership fund to support startups and other businesses engaging in the promotion of a circular economy. Tokyo is now sharing with the world a concept called Sustainable High City Tech, or Sushi Tech for short, which uses technologies to realize sustainable cities. Centering on finance and innovation, Tokyo will create a positive cycle of investment and growth. Tokyo has all you need to build your business. I look forward to seeing you here. I'm certain that cooperation between Tokyo and the City of London, the world's global financial centers, will pave the way to the future. Thank you very much. ありがとうございます。
Governor Koike, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Hayashi Hajime, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to the United Kingdom. Please take the stage.
Lord Mayor Manelli, distinguished guests, I'm truly grateful for this opportunity to say a few words at today's Tokyo-London Financial Seminar 2024. May I extend my sincere appreciation to the distinguished members of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, including Governor Koike and City of London Corporation, for organizing today's event. Today, Japan and the UK are increasingly important global strategic partners, as illustrated by Japan-UK Hiroshima Accord, signed by Prime Ministers Fumio Kishida and Rishi Sunak on the occasion of G7 Hiroshima Summit last May. The Hiroshima Accord envisions increasing investments through the ever closer economic partnership between our two countries. In this regard, financial services comprise an area in which the UK has become an indispensable partner for Japan. As of the first half of 2023, Japan's export to and imports from the UK of financial services respectively accounted for around 30% of its total services exports and imports. With a view to further developing these strong economic ties, the Japan-UK Financial Regulatory Forum, a framework for dialogue between the relevant ministries and regulators, was established under the Japan-UK Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement signed in October 2020. The first meeting was held in London here in June 2022, and the second one in Tokyo in November last week. The cooperative partnership in financial services between the governments of the two countries is clearly going from strength to strength. Such cooperation is also taking root between local governments. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government and the City of London Corporation signed an MOU on cooperation in financial services in 2017, which is enhancing the collaboration between the two cities in areas such as fintech, asset management, green finance, and ESG investment. This seminar is undoubtedly emblematic of the two cities' strong partnership in the financial sector. I believe that these strong ties will give impetus to the efforts of the government of Japan to shift from savings to investments through stable asset formation by its citizens. In order to promote Japan as leading asset management center, the government of Japan published its policy plans last month to remove barriers to overseas asset managers doing business in Japan. The UK, and London in particular, is known as one of the world's leading international financial centers and has a thriving asset management industry here. I hope that more UK asset managers will take advantage of this initiative and expand their activities into Japan. As many of us have realized, the Japanese economy is clearly on the upward trajectory. By way of illustration, it is on course to meet the 2% inflation target, while share prices on the Tokyo Stock Exchange have reached their highest levels since the so-called bubble burst in 1990s. Japan has much to commend it for overseas investors, and I genuinely hope that financial firms in London will become increasingly active in expanding the investment there. I'm certainly optimistic about continued growth and prosperity of our respective countries, and I am confident that the ongoing development of our highly significant partnership, which has a major impact on the financial sector, will play a crucial role in this regard. Thank you very much indeed.
Ambassador Haishi, thank you very much. In a few moments, we will move on to our fireside chat. So if you could bear with us, relax in your chairs as we set ourselves up for the fireside chat, and then I'll be with you very shortly. Thank you. Thank you so much for your patience. We will now move and continue to the fireside chat, where today's theme is the Japanese government's initiatives to promote Japan as a leading asset management center. I'd like to please welcome to the stage our guests, Mr. Tagada Hideki, Director of the Strategy Development Division, Financial Services Agency of Japan, and Jack Knight, Deputy CEO of the Investment Association. Thank you. The stage is yours.
Thank you, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. As introduced, I'm Jack Knight from the Investment Association, the representative body for asset managers in the UK. For a moment there, I did think that they might be setting up an actual fire, but for this fireside chat, you'll just have myself and Hideki Takada, who I'd like to welcome. Hideki's Director for the Strategy Development Division at the JFSA. This afternoon we're going to be examining the reforms that have been taking place in Japan over the past 2 years since Prime Minister Kishida came here to the city to announce his government's engagement with financial services and prioritization of investment management. So I'm going to dive straight into the chat. Welcome, Hideki. Can you tell us a bit about the Japanese government's vision for becoming an asset management nation? And what are the key changes and components of the reforms have we seen so far?
Okay, well, thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the Tokyo Metropolitan Government and also the City of London Corporation for organizing this event and inviting me for 2 years consecutively, the following last year's event at Mansion House. And just a few minutes ago, Lord Mayor talked about his personal attachment to Japan, but in my case, I have spent 5 years in the UK in total, and so to me, the UK is like a second home country, and so it's always my pleasure to coming back to London and the UK. And so just answering your first question, so as you said, Mr. Kishida made a speech at Guildhall in 2022, and so he emphasized sorry? Okay. So Mr. Kishida emphasized his commitment to financial market reforms he's taking forward in Japan. And so under Kishida's administration, this financial market agenda continues to be one of the priorities. And so his idea, or Japanese government's idea, is to realize the virtuous cycle of the growth and distribution. And so Japanese household has a huge amount of assets, more than 2,000 trillion yen. But more than half of that is held in the form of cash and deposits that gives them very, very little return at all under this ultra-low interest rate environment. And so our idea is to mobilize that money into more productive investment, and then that investment will energize Japan's economy and Japanese corporates, and then it will then further increase the asset income that the nation can enjoy. So this the virtuous cycle, realizing that is our goal, and we are taking great steps towards that realization of this goal.
Thank you. When we think of the assets under management we have here in the UK, a figure that's almost £9 trillion of AUM, sums like 2,000 trillion yen really do boggle the mind. But this program has plans for those 2,000 trillion yen. And this new year, the new NISA was launched. Can you remind us what the key advantages of this change is for consumers, for turning savings into investments, and what the advantages are for investment managers?
Well, thank you. So the NISA is a tax-exempt investment scheme for individuals. Actually, we introduced NISA modeled on the ISA in the UK. And it is becoming very popular among Japanese retail investors. And from this year, from this January, we are significantly expanding this NISA scheme. So far, the NISA scheme was available only for a limited time, but now it is made a permanent scheme, can be used unlimitedly in terms of the time. And also, the amount of tax-exempt investment which one can make in a year is tripled. And so it can cover, it is now more than enough for the most households in Japan. So now there is a real boom about starting investment even among the general public, ordinary Japanese households who have no experience in the past for making investment. So the NISA, or the new NISA, is now becoming a kind of the buzzword for general public. And of course, it means a huge opportunity for asset managers, including those in the UK, who are interested in the selling investment products to those retail investors. So now there is a huge untapped opportunity, a huge amount of money which were resting in the deposit account of those households are now finally moving toward investment. So which means a huge opportunity for UK managers as well.
So these are very propitious circumstances to be improving the NISA scheme. And coupled with the rise in the Nikkei and the positive outlook for growth in the Japanese economy in general, it's attracted a lot of interest in the media and among asset managers and asset managers here in the UK. Along with the measures that you've mentioned, that you've been introducing, is it going to be different this time around? How do you think international and UK-based asset managers can take advantage of the situation?
Okay, thank you. You may ask the question whether this time is different. So I think, yes, this time is different. Yes, the Japan has been talking about the slogan, from deposits to investment, for many, many years or even some decades. But now, in reality, I think it is happening. So for three reasons. The first is about the change in the macroeconomic circumstances. The Japan is finally getting out of the deflation which lasted for some decades. And so finally inflation is coming to the Japanese economy as well. So which means that keeping the money in the form of deposits is no longer the safest option. Of course, if inflation is going on, then the real value of your cash and deposits will be eroded in the future. So the macroeconomic change is the first reason. And the second reason is that the change in sentiment of the macroeconomic sentiment of the Japanese individuals. They are now thinking about their future, the necessity for preparing for the future in terms of the investment rather than saving, because saving alone is not sufficient in this macroeconomic environment. And also, just as I talked about the NISA, so the new NISA is now becoming a very popular buzzword for even for ordinary Japanese household. So their mind is very much changing. And the third reason is the government's commitment, very strong commitment, I should say. So just as I said, the reforms we are taking forward is very comprehensive and approaching every part of investment chain. So we are approaching the individuals and consumers by promoting NISA, and also we are taking forward the corporate governance reform program, which we published last April, the action program on corporate governance reform. And so now Japanese corporates are really thinking about how to raise their profitability, and also they are now aware of the cost of capital and share prices. And the remaining piece of this investment chain, we are now embarking on the comprehensive reform programs on the asset management sector, which is in a position of channeling people's money into productive investment. And so that is partly why the stock prices of Japan is so much rising, in the coming in the last few months. So it's nearly reaching the all-years high, which marked in the bubble economy period. So the Nikkei stock prices are 30 years high. So it is reflecting somehow the expectation from the global investors for the Japan's potential. So becoming different, this time is different.
So if global firms such as UK-based investment managers are thinking of establishing themselves in Japan, what are the most important things that they need to bear in mind? How is the JFSA making the process easier for them to do business?
Okay, thank you. You might have an image that starting a business in Japan is difficult or hard. Because of many reasons, there may be strict rules, legal requirements, procedures, and language barriers, and high living and business costs, and so on. But I should say that, I cannot say that all of these barriers have completely evaporated, but still I can say that to a certain extent, to a significant extent, we are working on reducing those barriers. We are taking forward a cross-governmental approach in tackling and reducing those barriers from financial regulation or taxes or the visa entry scheme and so on. It is indeed the whole of the government approach in reducing these barriers for entering into Japanese financial market. And the FSA has established the Financial Market Entry Office, which is a satellite office of the FSA, situated in Kabutocho area, just in front of Tokyo Stock Exchange in a financial district. And this office was created in 2021. And here you can do everything as a one-stop shop, so just prior consultation and registration and supervision after the registration, or everything you can do at this office as a one-stop shop, all in English. And so this office was created in 2021, but in roughly 2 years, we have completed already more than 30 registration, all done in English.
And I know that some of those firms have come from here in the UK.
Yes, yes. And so, yes, the many firms are coming into Japanese market from all over the world, of course, increasing the UK. And also, as part of the policy plans for asset management reforms, we are taking forward, introducing the regulations which make it easier for the asset managers to establish their businesses in Japan with fewer resources. So we are taking forward those kind of regulations. And also, as part of our policy package, we are introducing the special zones for financial and asset management services. So we are now working with a number of local governments who have aspiration to become the financial center, of course, including Tokyo Metropolitan government. And so we are going to finalize this package by this summer. And we hope that well, together the national governments and also the local governments are working together to make it easier for those foreign firms, of course, including UK firms, to come to Japanese market and do business there.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for in this Fireside Chat. So, Hideki-san, thank you so much for taking us through at whistle-stop pace the reforms that you're doing to turn Japan into a leading asset management center. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much to both of you, Jack Knight and Mr. Takada Hideki. In a few moments, we will be moving on to our panel discussion. If I could ask you again just to relax for a moment as we reset the stage. Thank you. Thank you so much for being so patient, and we are now ready to start our panel discussion. The theme is the appeal of Tokyo and Japan for investment managers. I'll start by introducing our panelist members, and they are Paul Voot, Head of Distribution, Europe and Asia Pacific, Impacts Asset Management. We have Alexander Robbins, Director, J. Stern & Co. And we have James Swords, Managing Director, Global Head of Investor Relations, Next Energy Capital. And our moderator for this session is Lisa Daimon, Assistant Director, Trade and Investment, the City of London Corporation. Please do give them all a warm round of applause.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, and thank you to our panel. Delighted to be here at the 8th Tokyo London Financial Seminar. I'm really pleased to be hosting this panel with, I think, a really great set of UK asset management firms. As the title says, this is a discussion around the appeal of Tokyo, Japan, for investment managers. And I'm really excited to hear some views from our panel here about what they see as the opportunities in Japan and what else we can be doing to support that. I'll turn straight away to the panel for a few introductions. Paul.
Good afternoon. I'm Paul Voot. I work for Impacts Asset Management, and I head up the distribution function. So we have a presence in the Asia region for over 15 years and recently set up an office in Japan. And we also have our core business in continental Europe, as well as obviously in the UK, our home market.
Thank you. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Robbins. I work for J. Stern & Co. in London. And I am a relationship manager, investment director, working primarily in the UK, but looking to open an office in Japan with all the exciting opportunities out there.
Thank you. And finally, Shane.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shane Swords. I head up the distribution for a fund manager called Next Energy Capital. Our business is based on solar and storage. We have a number of strategies. We see Japan, and we're in Japan very often as a key market force on the distribution side, but also potentially on the investment side as well. We've also been actively looking at setting up an office for distribution in Japan, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. So prime audience here for firms looking to set up in Japan or who've recently set up. So as a leading asset management centre, what lessons could Japan learn from the UK to meet its ambitions to internationalise and disrupt the market? I'll turn to Alex first.
Well, clearly what we've heard today are obviously the cultural parallels between London and Tokyo, which are fantastic, and it was great to hear Michael-san and Koike-san's comments earlier. And I think in terms of how we operate as an asset management centre in London, it is now very similar to Japan. And what is great to see primarily is the visa, the cost of visas now in Japan as opening up the market like we have done in the UK. That's great to see. But I think, as we know from an institutional perspective, the market is very led by global consultants which are primarily based in London, New York, and in Tokyo. And what the consultants are looking for their institutional clients, mainly public and private pension plans, are the best products in the market. And being able to do that and having close proximity to them in London and in Tokyo, you get to understand that there is clearly huge demand for Japanese equities and Japanese bonds, but also for international Kokusai equities and bonds. And Paul may go on to talk about obviously the amazing win with the government pension scheme in Japan, but they continue to look to invest globally, look to partner with asset managers all over the world, but primarily in London and in New York, And I think there are some fantastic opportunities for UK asset managers now in Japan.
Thank you very much, Alex. Paul, I think we set you up nicely there.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. So certainly, I think I would echo that in terms of the consultants. What we're seeing now is the institutions in Japan are maybe broadening the number of consultants they're using. So historically, they were maybe focused on one or two of the big consultants and working with the bigger asset managers. And now there's certainly a willingness to look beyond the more established names and go to more specialist firms or sometimes even boutique organizations. So I think that's helpful for us as asset managers. I think the other thing as an asset manager, we're obviously operating in a regulated environment, so making a commitment to open an office is not only a commitment in terms of the hiring budget and the cost of an office, but all the implications it has downstream from operations to legal to compliance in terms of reporting and monitoring. So it's a big commitment, and in that context, obviously the subsidy program has been very helpful to establish that and maybe accelerate some of the decision-making processes to set up offices. Certainly was in our case. And finally, Japan, again, talking about the asset management industry, it's very much partner-led, so you need a local partner if you're going to access the retail channel. And I think certainly there's a willingness from some of those partners to look beyond established partnerships they've had over the years to look at other firms that come with interesting products. So we've certainly seen that, and that's helpful.
Thank you. Shane, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I guess in terms of maybe a lesson, I think the asset management market in Japan is very similar to the UK. Certainly, I suppose in our experience, I think one thing that I suppose we have done with the help of the UK government is that in one of our strategies, the UK Infrastructure Bank cornerstoned with the strategy. They match funded capital coming into that, and what that really did was it really helped to internationalize the fund. So we ended up getting a lot of local public pension plans that joined the UK government in that, but we also got a lot of international investment, and we actually ended up getting a Japanese gatekeeper doing analysis on the strategy and then bringing some of their investors into that. So I think in our experience of that, I think the Japanese gatekeeper and the investors took a lot of comfort from the amount of due diligence and analysis that the UK government would have done. And I think that, that worked really well. We got over target very quickly. I think that's a good example for Japan and even other countries as well. So.
Superb. Thank you very much. And we'll turn to some of the subsidies and your views on that shortly. But in the meantime, with an eye on Japan's net zero target, how do you view the opportunity for UK funds in Japan's journey to transition to net zero? Obviously, we know that Impacts are a leading firm in this space, so I'll turn to you first, if that's okay, Paul.
So our focus is primarily on listed companies in that space. So we also do renewables. So that's something we do primarily in Europe and now increasingly in the US, but not yet in Japan. So what we've noticed in terms of our investment universe is certainly the opportunity set has widened, given the focus from the corporates we're looking at on finding solutions aimed at the transition to a sustainable economy. So more and more opportunities there. And also what's transpired over the last couple of years is the companies themselves are really learning to speak our language in terms of sustainability. So maybe 5 years ago, the corporates would not have a dedicated sustainability specialist. And now most of the companies we speak to will have people dedicated to this field, which obviously makes the investment case on our side a bit easier if we have somebody to speak to that can answer the questions which are pertinent to us and our investment processes. So we've seen a big improvement on that side, which is very helpful.
Fantastic. Shane, I think you want to add there.
Yeah, I guess, for us, our strategy is based around renewable energy. It's kind of based around net zero. So, I guess for us, the greatest opportunity for us is with our international fund and, the ability to be able to, invest into Japan. We target OECD geographies. Obviously, we started off in some, and we're gradually expanding into others. We're on our second vintage of that strategy. And certainly the Japanese market is very, very interesting, for solar with the subsidies that are there, and it's certainly something that we're actively looking at. So I think for us that's the greatest opportunity.
Fantastic. And over to you, Alex. Anything you want to add?
Well, from an asset management perspective, a lot of the initiatives are clearly born out of the UK, and it's great now to see Japan and other parts of the world adopting, the initiatives which were first built here, whether that is clearly sustainable targets in, the UN PRI initially. I think in the UK there are over 4,000 UK companies which are signed up to that. Clearly the commitments to 2050, which seems to now be, increasingly a global thing. Obviously, the UK Stewardship Code, which is now which has been adopted in Japan as the Japan Stewardship Code, putting collective engagement and constructive engagement to one side. It's pretty well mirrors how we do things here. So that's obviously a fantastic parallel. I think in terms of gender diversity, which is clearly, we saw it with obviously the government pension scheme in terms of the drive there to the 30% rule, but what we see in the UK is, a huge and continued open marketplace to attract the best talent, regardless of gender and race, and I think that is also beginning to be a big drive in Japan as well, which is hugely important if you want to be managing the best products, investment products globally, having that diversity of thought. And then in terms of just what we do at J. Stern & Co. investing in Kokusai Equities, we very much only invest in sustainable businesses, because it's sustainable businesses which are going to win out, which are going to do the disrupting over the long term. It's the carbon, the capital heavy type businesses, we believe, which are going to be left behind. And that all sort of comes back to the sort of net zero and the trillions of dollars which are going to be spent by governments and companies to deliver that.
Thank you. And back to you, Paul. With a foot on the ground, how are you seeing this sort of working in practice and sort of the opportunity for UK firms to support that transition?
So as I said, our focus is primarily on listed companies in the Japanese context. So what we're looking at is which are those disruptive technologies that are aligned towards the transition. And certainly, if you look at the Japanese markets, there's companies that, there's a well-known bicycle manufacturer which would fit into our sort of taxonomy, to name one. And then certainly on the communication side, technology, there's lots of solutions providers that are helping other companies position themselves with new products. So that for us is the interesting part of the market. And as Alex said, increasingly we're engaging with companies. They're much more receptive. We hosted around the PRI a forum around diversity with the ACGA, which was very successful, and certainly that's a topic that seems to be resonating in the Japanese market.
Super, thank you. Anything else from Alex or Shane there on the transition to net zero?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've kind of already covered it just in terms of obviously the investment opportunity. I mean, the other thing that's important for us, which I guess helps the transition to net zero, is obviously the distribution channels that are available in Japan. And obviously, as I mentioned, we have investors from Japan that have come in, and I suppose it's important for the investors as well and their pension plans to achieve net zero also. So that obviously helps. And I suppose in order for us to be able to take advantage of the channels in a more detailed way, we have been looking at placing somebody and having an office out in Tokyo, and we're in the process of going through that and just having that presence on the ground. At the moment we're kind of flying out every 10 to 12 weeks, which is very, very nice, and very enjoyable. But I think
maybe not so good for net zero.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true actually. Yeah, I think the boat would take a bit too long though. So. But like that's kind of where we see it. So.
Fantastic.
We're obviously not here to talk about AI, but AI is going to have a huge impact on us getting to our targets, hopefully ahead of time. And I think industrial technology, all the way through the sort of sector spectrum, Japan have some of the world's leading industrial technology businesses, sensors, huge opportunities for investors to benefit, obviously, from the transition through the technology. but through AI, which is obviously a big part of how businesses will continue to operate in Japan. So we at J. Stone are looking to benefit from those types of businesses, the enablers, more so than obviously the big renewable businesses, but the enablers who are going to help us get to those targets.
Yeah, I think we could probably have another full panel discussion on AI, so I'll move on. We've heard obviously previously about the subsidies and everything that Japan is doing to try and continue to attract more asset managers. What are your views on the effectiveness of those subsidies in attracting firms? Obviously, I'm presuming it's positive, bearing in mind we've got one here and two that are nearly there. But it'd be great to hear your views on what's really been beneficial, what else could be done, and anything else that might be useful for firms that are also looking to do the same. I won't come to you this time for us, Paul, but we'll go over to Shane.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look. I guess we're at the early stages of that. It is costly to do that. You obviously need to have a team there as well. It's not just the distribution person, but other people there, and you obviously have to employ that person. And I guess from a distribution perspective, you're employing that person or that team on the basis that they will succeed. So whereas the other option from a regulatory perspective is you can use a placement agent in Japan, and they will generally be working on a success fee. So here it's like paying a placement agent a retainer. But I think I think for firms that have an element of traction in Japan, given the opportunity set there, particularly where you've got an infrastructure product where you've got long-term stable cash flows, pension funds in Japan can match their long-term liabilities with these cash flows. I think it is certainly worth the investment, and certainly something that we will be proceeding with. So.
Super. On that note, Paul, I will turn to you for your experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, maybe.
Sure. So maybe I'll run you through the history. So I think we've been going to Japan for over probably 2 decades now, and as I said earlier, investing in Japan and the Asia region more broadly for over 15 years, with a local office initially in Hong Kong. And we, through one of our sort of distribution partnerships, which was more in the retail space, got a first mandate that then grew much faster and quicker than expected and became very meaningful for us. So we had the reflection, well, should we establish a presence, go a bit further? But those plans were not concrete. And then we won the first big institutional mandate, which Alex alluded to, and the reflection continued, and then we got approached with the Tokyo Green Finance Subsidy Program, and then just decided to do it. So it was given we weren't prepared, it was quite a quick turnaround we had to do, but certainly the program was very effective. Certainly being able to do part of it in English was helpful, and we thought, the experience was overall very, very positive, and obviously glad we got the subsidy in the end. And that now allowed us to set up the presence. We've got 3 people, 1 on the investment, 1 more compliance, and 1 on the distribution and client relations.
Superb. Alex, any views from you?
Well,
starting?
Well, the partnership is clearly here with obviously Japan and the UK. So it's really just a question of it is a long way. But if you've got people, whether it's through a local partnership, like Shane says, through a local asset management business, which is similar to the way Japanese asset managers partner with UK asset managers to obviously benefit from the huge savings market in the UK. It's obviously now the same type of process with Japanese local asset managers. So if you've got people who are willing to, people on the ground, but also people willing to go out and harness that relationship, I think you'll do very well. The other thing is obviously the access to information, which has been fantastic through the TMG, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, but also being the transparency through the FSA in Japan. Sort of holding your hand, knowing exactly what's required, putting you in touch, and I think this is really important, putting you in touch with the right people on the ground, whether that's to have an office in one of the fantastic office buildings in Neonbashi or wherever it is, Midtown, or some of the amazing locations around the Imperial Palace. The key thing is just continuing that dialogue between the FSA, the TMG, and all these amazing events that are put on by the City of London.
Thank you. Shane, Alex mentioned information. Do you feel that you've got enough information, continue to have the right information to allow you to make a decision and potentially use the subsidy for your plans?
Based on I think based on what we have thus far, it's been very, very good, and obviously it's our colleagues in the kind of compliance team that are obviously looking after it and processing it. But there certainly hasn't been any issues at all. I mean, I suppose like where I'm looking at it in terms of flows of information, I suppose I'm looking at the information requirements of the underlying investors, and like what they need to see, and also what they're looking for as well. And I think it's very clear. I mean, we always find that whenever we travel out to Japan, we're out there the first week in March, the investors are very welcoming, and we always end up having back-to-back meetings for nearly 3 days. So when we go back, we're quite tired, but it's always very, very worthwhile, very, very welcoming. And I think the investors and the gatekeepers, our existing investors, our existing gatekeepers in Japan, and prospective investors are always very open, and it's very, very clear. I think it's quite similar. I think the investor requirements are quite similar to some of the institutional investors in the UK, particularly maybe some of the kind of PFI, PPP investors just looking for those long-term stable cash flows. From our perspective, because obviously, we're an infrastructure manager, specialising in solar. So.
Fantastic. And Alex mentioned some of the work of the City of London, and I think both your firms, potentially both of you, joined the mission out to Tokyo last year, and the sort of programme put together with the Lord Mayor visit and the work with the British Embassy. I should flag, the Lord Mayor is back out, as he said, in May, and we are looking at the potential for a similar event, so hopefully we'll have both of you involved in some way, and obviously look forward to speaking to others. What else can we be doing as a city or others to be continuing to work to support firms looking to expand alongside TMG? That's sort of an open question there. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in first.
Networking events are really helpful, like today, meeting people who are over from Japan, and being put in touch directly. I think we mentioned global consultants. They're very willing, and even the local consultants in Japan are willing to put you in touch with their underlying clients. I think more, we've spoken about language earlier on today. I think now on websites, for live tenders, that information is now in English as well as in Japanese, which is clearly really helpful. And just understanding whether it's through one of the global consultants or the local consultants, the sort of tender process, and I know with the government pension scheme of Japan, that is an ongoing live tender, and just having that sort of access to information has been really useful.
Fantastic. Paul?
Yeah, I would echo that. Obviously, as an asset manager, the more connections you can have with local institutions would be helpful. So events catered around that would be a thing to look at. Yeah.
Fantastic. Shane?
No, I fully agree. I mean, I think that's really it. I think these events are really appreciated. The one in the British Embassy in Japan was really appreciated as well, and it's just networking, and I think people appreciate when we make the effort, go to these events and go out there and do the networking, etc. So.
Fantastic. And moving back to the subsidy, Paul, obviously you've gone through the process now and out the other end. If you looked at it again, are there things that you'd do differently? Are there things, sort of lessons learned that you can share with our fellow panelists?
I think, as I said, it was more maybe on our end. We decided to do it, and we didn't leave ourselves a big window to do it. So maybe if you go in, make sure you're prepared would be the only advice. But certainly in terms of the way the program was structured, in terms of being able to use English, all that was very helpful. And yeah, having the right points of contact, whether it's on the legal compliance side, locally, are all obviously helpful as well.
Absolutely. And Shane, you mentioned you're looking at Tokyo. The subsidy is obviously a huge opportunity from a Japanese perspective. Are you looking at other Asian markets? And if so, what is the appeal of Tokyo over others or vice versa?
Sure. So I guess Tokyo is very interesting. I mean, as I was saying, from a distribution perspective, we're also active in South Korea. And they are probably the two main markets, to be honest with you, that we are active in. And the reason for that is probably because those two markets, I think, will have the most infrastructure investors. There's a lot of institutional investors, pension funds in both of those geographies that are interested in the infrastructure segment. So that's probably why that is. And then I guess Japan is also interesting, as I mentioned, from an investment perspective, because solar, there's a good subsidy for solar in Japan. And obviously, as I mentioned, our fund is OECD, so therefore we have the ability to invest there as well in the long term.
Fantastic. Alex, anything from your perspective there?
From our perspective, obviously you have to start somewhere. It's really been the UK and Europe. Obviously we came out of a very large family once upon a time. We have grown our business in the US quite significantly, but Japan is probably the third market we're now looking to target. In terms of obviously parallels, we've spoken about it. Culturally, it's been great. Obviously, the blueprint for the London Olympic Games with the Tokyo Olympic Games is obviously fantastic to see the Japan Rugby World Cup hosted in Japan. I think from our perspective, just whether it's the US or Japan, there are so many similarities in terms of quality of life, in terms of what consumers demand from a leisure perspective. It just seems a very natural fit.
Fantastic. Paul, what's next for Impacts?
So at the moment, we're primarily focused on those partnership-led opportunities, whether it's in the retail channel or institutional channel. The next step for us will be registering our UCITS, which won't only impact Japan, but obviously across the main wholesale hubs, so Hong Kong, Singapore. But once we've done that piece of work, we'll do it across the region, and then that will allow us to then set up feeder structures into the Japanese market on our listed strategies. So that would be the next one.
Superb. We look forward to seeing what happens next. And then finally, so we've talked a lot about the subsidies. Is there anything else that would attract any of your firms to Tokyo even more and even quicker? I don't know if anyone jumps to in. Alex looks like he's pondering.
It's the chicken and the egg. If you're going to see a mandate, then the whole thing is quickens up extremely quickly. So it'd be great for us to see our first mandate through a local partnership, which we have, whether that's through a live tender or whether that's through a family office, a Japanese family office who are looking to invest alongside us. That would be amazing.
Super. And obviously, the City of London, Department for Business and Trade and the Investment Association, alongside our partners at TMG, are here very much to support you in those endeavours and do what we can. Shane, anything from your perspective? It's
the same. I think, well said. I mean, for us, it would be increasing our AUM, I think, primarily from Japanese institutional investors. And therefore, obviously, easier to justify an additional expenditure in Japan. I mean, obviously, we're still looking at it based on what we have and looking at it very, very seriously, but that would certainly increase what we would be willing to do there, yeah.
Fantastic. I don't think I'm going to ask you, Paul, would there have been anything else that could have made it even quicker?
No, not really for us. It's more leveraging the structure we have now and seeing what we can do with some of the existing and new partnerships we're working on and building on those assets. And through that, we obviously have to continue to invest. So it is a big market to cover. So we've got 3 people now, but we'll probably have to continue to invest if those partnerships are successful.
Fantastic. We look forward to seeing all of your growth across Japan. I think we're coming towards the end of our time, so thank you very much. I think it's super useful to hear all of your insights and experiences, and thank you for sharing. And I'm sure we wish you all the very best of luck. Any final comments that you'd like to make? Again, I'll start with Shane at the end.
No, I wasn't expecting this one. But, no, I'd just say, obviously, it's just a pleasure to be here. It's a key geography for us, particularly on a distribution side. We're obviously putting a lot of effort into it. We're travelling out in March. We'll be travelling out in May. We're looking at setting up an office there.
Hopefully, the last week of May now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So look, it's very, very important for us to be able to attend these types of events. So very much appreciated, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the partnership, as we've discussed today, is clearly two-way. We don't manage for our clients Japanese equities internally. We outsource that to third parties. Japanese managers, local asset managers, we believe are the best teams, the best businesses to do that. If there are Japanese asset managers here and like a discussion, we're very happy to do that.
Thank you. That was the plug I was waiting for. And Paul, finally.
No, just like to thank everybody for the subsidy that was involved, and yeah, as I said, it's now up to us to make it work. So.
Superb. Thank you very much indeed for all of your time. And I say we look forward to seeing more of your growth in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you to our 3 panel members and our moderator as well. I'm going to ask you again to just take a bit of relaxation in your chair as we reset the stage, and I'll be back shortly. Thank you. Thank you so much. So next, we have Mr. Yoshimura Keiichi, Director General, Office for Startup and Global Financial City Strategy, Tokyo Metropolitan Government, who will come to the stage to deliver his speech. Please do give him a warm round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yoshimura Keiichi from Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Thank you for the keynote speech and fire chat side and panel discussion. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Our office is a new organization established last April. And the mission is create innovative Tokyo by promoting measures for startups and global financial cities in an integrated and global manner. Cooperation between the City of London and Tokyo has deepened this past year. I am delighted to be here as a result. Today, I would like to talk about 3 topics. The vision of Tokyo for global financial city, and the TMG's entry support, market entry support, and initiatives for global innovations. The first, vision of Tokyo as a global financial city. The vision aims to Tokyo become an innovation and finance hub in Asia for realizing a sustainable society. We will activate sustainable finance and foster innovations by startups. We will serve as a gateway to attract fund, talent, technology, and information globally. As a result, we will contribute to the growth of Japan and Asia as a whole. Towards this vision, we promote 3 initiatives based on 3 pillars. The leading city of sustainable finance, including transition finance and carbon credit exchange. Second, the city where global startups are born. I'll explain later. Third, the city with a global standard for business in English. It is particularly important to overcome the language barrier, which being strongly promoted by Governor Koike. Tokyo Stock Exchange announced the policy to require English disclosure in its prime market from 2025. And Tokyo Metropolitan government will also promote AI-based translation for companies in Tokyo. This vision is aligned with the Japanese government initiatives to become a leading asset management center. Now, let me move to the second topic, TMG's market entry support. TMG offers various supports throughout every phase business development into Tokyo. We will set up free English consultation desks in London and Tokyo. London desk asks access to Tokyo provides Tokyo markets insight and details of market support of the TMG. London desk is located in the Square Mile. When considering expanding to Tokyo, it will be a first contact point. Tokyo Desk Business Development Center Tokyo provides a total support package through every field, from business through to lifestyle issues. You can obtain each contact information from this QR code. Please make use of it. Next is financial incentives. TMG offers financial support to cover necessary costs, including for the preparation, establishment of a base, and business expansion, depending on the phase. Subsidy supports includes consulting fees for the experts and personnel recruitment cost, license registration fees, and office rent. In particular, for companies related with green transformation, including fintech, we can also provide subsidies for personal expenses. We would be delighted if you could consider expanding your business in Tokyo. TMG is prepared to provide a comprehensive support for you. Now, third topic, I would like to introduce our startup strategy and its initiative briefly. The end of 2022, Tokyo Metropolitan Government developed a first startup strategy called Global Innovation with Startups. It was the first time in 80 years of Tokyo government's history. This is a 10 by 10 by 10 innovation vision, Tokyo's vision. We aim to increase by 10 times the number of startups, global unicorns, and public-private collaborative practices over the next 5 years. It's a very ambitious vision. We are going to try it. Towards this vision, we have two major initiatives, Tokyo Innovation Base and SushiTech Tokyo. First initiative, Tokyo Innovation Base will form a major hub that will serve as a gateway to Asia, bringing together startups, venture capitals, accelerators, large corporations, governments, and universities from Japan and abroad. We hope to become a hub that connects ecosystems by collaborating with bases in cities around the world. For example, providing joint training programs and exchanging startups. Tokyo Innovation Base is located in the very center of Tokyo, just only 5 minutes walk from Tokyo Station. Last November, we have a pre-opening event of TIB. About 800 participants gathered from Japan and abroad, and Governor Koike delivered the presentation in English. Next initiative is Sushi Tech Tokyo. Last February, we held our first startup event, City Tech Tokyo, attracted 26,000 participants from more than 60 countries and 290 cities successfully. Now, we will upgrade this event to the Sushi Tech Tokyo 2024, and hold on May 15 and 16 this year. As Governor Koike already explained, Sushi Tech Tokyo stands for Sustainable High City Tech. It is a concept that aims to create sustainable cities by overcoming the world's common challenge through cutting-edge high technology. We will attract 40,000 participants, making it one of the largest startup events in Asia. Now, I would like to propose one more initiative. We plan to a program that connects promising Japanese startups and global investors, like UK investors. I really appreciate your kind cooperation for this program. Lastly, Tokyo will continue to strive to solve social problems and create a sustainable city by promoting and by combining finance and innovation. And last, please join us in Tokyo next May, Sushi Tech Tokyo. Let's discuss the bright future created by innovation. Of course, having delicious sushi. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Mr. Yoshimura, thank you very, very much. I'd like to now invite Alistair King, DL, Alderman of the City of London, to the stage for some closing remarks. Please come to the stage.
Ambassador, distinguished guests, it's a great joy to be here with you all today and to witness the last parts of a fascinating set of conversations. I'm always very indebted to the Japanese banking community, particularly in relation to my time at the City of London Corporation. Until very recently, the largest group of voters in my ward were the Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. And they were very wonderfully, fantastic corporate citizens. They did so much in the ward and around the ward. Unfortunately, they were so successful that they outgrew their premises in my ward and they moved to somebody else's ward up near Liverpool Street. And I'm very sad to see them gone, as are all the rest of the people within my ward. But on to better things, perhaps. I certainly hope, I'm sure that'll be the case up near Liverpool Street in their beautiful new offices. I'm really sort of very pleased to be giving these closing remarks today. I think that as I understand, the contributions during the course of the afternoon have been very good, and also it's great to see our old friend, the Ambassador, here present today. So thank you very much indeed for coming today. It's also wonderful that this is the 8th year that this event has been held, and I think it is going from strength to strength. And so we are really delighted that this continues. And the importance of the work that we do in symposia such as this cannot be underestimated. We are particularly keen during the course of the next couple of years or so to push the relationship with regard to the financial services here in London and financial services in Tokyo. There are all sorts of opportunities. I know that my colleague, the Lord Mayor, is going to be visiting Tokyo very soon. Plus also, during the course, should I be lucky enough to follow him next year, then I have a great opportunity because the Osaka 25, the Expo in 2025, will take place in Osaka, and I will certainly hope to be there and hope to bring a large delegation of British financial and professional services businesses to that event. And I think it'll be a remarkable, groundbreaking event, and certainly the preparation work that I've seen so far has been extraordinary. Just in relation to that, what the vision that we have here in the City of London, I think it's very much one of renewal and growth, and that's certainly going to be my theme should I be lucky enough to become Lord Mayor next year. I think that where we see enormous opportunities is to do things with the financial and professional services counterparts in Japan. And I think that we must remember that if we are serious about being a global financial centre, which we are, then we have to involve, which is the third largest economy in the world, at a central part of what we do in every element, whether it be financial, professional services and all the ancillary organisations. Certainly during the course of the next coming months and in the preparation up to the changeover in the mayoralty, I will be doing a series of events in relation to Japan, and I do hope that you'll come to some of those. More information will be out very shortly. But certainly I've done a series of communities and faiths events over the course of the last couple of years. That's continuing now, and I would hope that there'll be a Japanese community event before too long. We're delighted to be partnering with so many Japanese entities when it comes to figuring out the new technologies and what that will mean for all of our businesses in financial and professional services. We also see that Japanese partners are absolutely integral for us making a success of that. So look, I just wanted to leave on a really happy note. I think that this event goes from strength to strength. The collaboration between London and Tokyo goes from strength to strength. I think it's remarkable that we have such a good, close partnership. There is much more to be done, and I certainly hope to play a leading part, along with my colleagues in the City of London Corporation, in order to make sure that occurs. Thank you very much indeed for being here with us today. I thank you very much indeed to the organising team, and I'm most grateful to you all, plus also to Stationers Hall for putting on such a lovely event. We do have a networking event now, and so I do hope you'll stay to enjoy that. And thank you very much indeed for coming today. All best to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it just feels right at this point to ask for a round of applause for all of our speakers, Fireside Chat and panellists as well. So this now concludes all the sessions of the Tokyo London Financial Seminar 2024. And we'd like to thank you all very, very much indeed for spending this time with us today.